Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to the live. Hope everybody's doing well. Just gonna wait a little bit and have everybody just filter in. So everybody's actually today's the first live I'm attempting in a long time here on the channel. I pretty much post like videos from our training sessions primarily, and I wanted to slowly start putting some content out there, because we make some videos. If you guys are following us on the YouTube channel Futsal Today, under that name, and most of it is basically training videos from our training sessions, our academy, the camps that we do. But I wanted to basically start creating some information, some content on things that are not just showing the training videos, but basically just spark a conversation around futsal and the truths, the myths, ask questions. Hopefully parents will come in, coaches share their feedback, share their experiences. A lot of misinformation, a lot of information that I strongly believe soccer-oriented organizations put out. And in my opinion, excuse me, it has a lot to do with money. So, kind of want to go over these things because and I'm gonna ruffle up a lot of feathers, because some of the things that I'm going to cover and go over, I believe that they're not popular with the soccer world. I believe that, especially here in New Jersey, which is a major soccer hub for youth soccer for years and years and years, and the community here in New Jersey is dominated by soccer. I feel that futsal has taken a back step, and it's been considered the stepchild to soccer, and that's by design, because soccer organizations, number one, make more money with soccer programs as opposed to basically promoting what other countries promote. So if you're living in South America, if you're living in Europe, a lot of the youth soccer programs, they actually start the kids on a futsal environment, anywhere from 4 or 5 years old until they're like 9 to 11 years old. They train in a futsal environment. They do not start playing soccer until that age, and it all depends on how well advanced the children are. But the results are being shown in countries like Spain and Portugal and Brazil. You see more and more. Actually, the professional soccer world is dominated right now by a lot of South American players. So I feel that in America, soccer cartel is suppressing futsal and the benefits of futsal, because quite honestly, they're not making as much money. Because let's be honest, when you have a roster of outdoor soccer, even at the younger ages where you have seven player roster or 9 player roster, they're still putting anywhere from 12 to 14 kids on those groups. As the kids get older, you have rosters that range anywhere from 18 players to 24, 25 players. Where in futsal, you have less numbers, because in futsal it's 5-a-side. So most teams are comprised anywhere from 8 to 10 players. So they're making more money with having more players on these groups. Not to mention that in most places, outdoor soccer, you can go and get a permit from a park municipality or what have you. And, it doesn't really cost that much money. Where in futsal, it's very, very difficult to find indoor spaces that cost nothing. You might find some, towns where they go and rent indoor basketball courts from the town for a couple of dollars. But for the most part, indoor training surfaces to get those venues, they are more costly. They can range, especially during the winter season, where it seems that most American kids are playing futsal. They can range anywhere from like $150 on a low end, $100 to $250 and higher. So it's not as profitable as it is to have a soccer organization. Now, with that being said, parents are being sold the goods. Soccer organizations, they see the rise of futsal, they see the popularity of futsal, they see that more and more kids are playing futsal, more and more families are enjoying futsal. Why not dip into that growth, into that popularity? So you have soccer organizations that do not have futsal specific coaches, and they're putting programs out claiming that, yeah, we got futsal as well. But all they are is just organizations basically putting soccer programming, soccer instructional programs, just moving them from turf onto a basketball court. Does that make sense? Have you guys noticed that? Have you guys experienced that? Love to hear your comments. Love to see your comments if you guys have experienced that. But here in New Jersey, my organization and what I work with is, although again I'm a former soccer player, I grew up here in New Jersey, late 70s and 80s, playing indoor soccer. In those days it was called indoor soccer, but really all it was futsal. I played in Europe. I have grown, and I'm a product of the futsal world. I'm a product of basically playing and growing up playing futsal. So in New Jersey, for years and years and years, it's indoor soccer on turf, 5v5, 7v7. But that alone that in itself, there's a difference. So playing 5-a-side on turf, 5-a-side on grass, and 5-a-side on a hard surface, that being a basketball court, a volleyball court, any hard, an outdoor skating rink, that alone is a difference. Now, you start playing with a futsal ball as opposed to a soccer ball, where a lot of soccer organizations, they train on a hard surface, but they use a soccer ball, where a soccer ball bounces all over the place. Soccer ball is more bouncy, okay? So there's a reason why we use a futsal ball or a salao ball, like it's called in Colombia, which is much smaller. A tennis ball, for example. There's a difference between that to using a soccer ball, even though the surface is the same. The bounce of the ball is different. So when you have a soccer ball bouncing all over the place, it takes away from the technical element that we use by using a futsal ball. That's just the technical component. The movement of a futsal player, the movement on a futsal specific training to a soccer training are different. Now, can you take the futsal specific training and bring it into a soccer environment? Yeah, absolutely. In fact, part of a qualified futsal specific coach is being able to address how you can take the futsal specific training and bring it into the soccer training and how it's going to benefit. Being able to tell the player, what we're using here, what we're learning here on a futsal environment, this is how it's going to basically help you when you go to a soccer environment. So being able to not only teach the technical components of futsal, but being also able to explain to a soccer player or a futsal player how they can take those components and apply it into a soccer game is part of the pillars of being a complete futsal specific trainer. And here in New Jersey, 99% of the quote unquote futsal trainers are not equipped to do that, because they are soccer trainers that their soccer companies, their soccer organizations have said, hey, you know what, we're going to introduce futsal because we want to keep the kids here. So if you're playing for an XYZ, you play for XYZ soccer academy or an organization, why go to another futsal specific organization? Let's keep them here, and we're going to have Coach Bob, Coach Joe, Coach Mary, quote unquote, teach the kids futsal. Well, how can you teach futsal if you don't know? How can you teach futsal if you've never played futsal? How can you teach futsal if you don't know the technical and the tactical components of the game? That's like saying, let me take a basketball coach, and have him come and teach soccer because they're both sports. No, absolutely not. Basketball coaching, the components of basketball are completely different than the components of soccer. Well, the same thing applies when you say, I want to take a soccer coach and use them to teach futsal. Absolutely crazy. They just don't jive. That's like saying, I want to take a math teacher and have them teach Spanish. If the math teacher doesn't know how to speak Spanish, how do you expect that teacher to teach the math teacher to teach Spanish? You understand what I'm going with this? By the way, tap like if you guys like what you're hearing. Kind of helps the algorithm here. Appreciate you guys sharing and liking the videos and the live and all good stuff. It definitely helps out. But am I making my point clear? You understand where I'm going with this? So those are the initial misconceptions. More and more soccer clubs are beginning to realize that there's a market for futsal. Maybe it's not as lucrative as soccer, right? Because of the numbers that we talked about, okay? But there is definitely a market to having futsal. Now, the perfect scenario will be if a soccer academy, a soccer organization, build a futsal program. And as far as I'm concerned, and when I coached outdoor soccer, when I was in college as a college coach, I used futsal training as part of my soccer curriculum. Okay, so for example, I coach at Widener University here in Pennsylvania. Oh, I'm not here. In Pennsylvania, Chester, Pennsylvania, Widener University, although I live in New Jersey. So I coached there, and in the university, because it was very close to the Philadelphia Union Stadium, we actually had an affiliation with Philadelphia Union. Our players did fundraising work for the Philadelphia Union. And the Philadelphia Union used the campus for some of their training initially. So Philadelphia Union actually donated and put some money in, and they built an outdoor futsal playing ground at Widener University. So we actually had we were lucky enough to have a futsal environment, in the university. So as a smart coach that has been grown up to playing futsal, and I'm a product of a futsal environment, I said, you know what? I always integrate futsal training and futsal technical and tactical elements into my soccer curriculum. So basically what we did is we had our players, our college players, use the futsal training grounds. We would go and, just to give you an idea, on certain days, preseason, and then during the season, the warm-up would be done on the futsal court. So the players would come in, all right, and they would just start playing. Okay, start playing. 5v5, 3v3, 2v2 on the futsal court. It was big enough, so we would have the players, broken up and play. We also use the indoor facility of the university, the basketball courts, to do the same thing. So our field house had 4 basketball courts, and during the soccer season, and especially during preseason camp, like mid-August, there was not any basketball going on, so we actually had access to these surfaces, right? So players would come in and automatically, split up, and they would freestyle. In other words, play without direction, 5v5, 3v3, 2v2 on a futsal surface with futsal balls, mini games. That would be the warm-ups. Okay? After stretching, after getting their physical warm-up, okay? Some days, you have technical warm-up. Sometimes you have, warm-up with activities inside. But most of the time, they would train and warm up on a futsal environment. And then from there on, the soccer stadium was literally, our field house and this futsal space was right next to the stadium, right? Right next where the teams would train outdoors. So from there on, we take a break, literally walk like a few yards, and that's where the training would continue. I did the same thing, by the way, as the director of the Jackson Soccer Club here in central New Jersey. I was the coach and director there, and it was the same thing. We actually had turf fields in our area, and within it was like a big sports complex. It has baseball fields, it has soccer fields, multi-purpose fields, soccer, lacrosse, football. It has a roller skating rink outdoors with lights, which I utilize, and basically I train on a futsal. So I did the same exact concept. So my teams, I couldn't apply this, by the way, blanket across the club, because the Jackson Soccer Club, and just like other soccer clubs, it was not an academy, so it had a lot of volunteers. So the club structure, if it was up to me, I would definitely mandate it, but it wasn't up to me. So, but I did teach it to other coaches that were receptive into that type of training. And I would say, here's what my teams are going to do. When I was coaching there, I had a 2000, I had a U8 girls team. I had a U14 boys team. And I coached them, like the boys aged out. So I coached them from U14 to U18 where they aged out. And the girls from U8 to U14 and U15. Okay? So, again, we had 3 times a week training. All right? I used both teams. Both teams were not recreation teams. Both teams were travel soccer. So I basically, excuse me, guys. I don't know who's calling here. I don't know. What is this coming from? I have all my devices plugged in. Anyway, sorry. So I designed my training session as follows. Like I said, there were travel teams, even at the U8 level, and there weren't at the U8 level, there weren't a very high level team. Okay, my U14 boys team were a very, very high level. They were academy level. In fact, by the time they were like 15 U15, I believe, they were like ranked top 3 in the state of New Jersey. They were ranked nationally. So it didn't matter the level. My methodology was the same. So I introduced futsal to the U8-year-olds, to the 8-year-olds, right? As well as the 14-year-olds. You got that? Again, I took over a U14 boys team. I didn't take them, on as younger. Somebody else was training them, and they were, we made a coaching switch. So I took over that team, and my 8-year-olds actually started for, tryouts and whatnot. So I built the curriculum. Here's the curriculum, right? They train 3 times a week, not twice a week, because once again, most clubs that are not academies, most clubs usually only train twice a week. I wanted to build more of a professional level training. So if you're being coached in Europe or South America, even U8s, U7s, young ones, they train like 3 to 5 days a week. The training is more important. So the game is just a reward for the training, if that makes sense. Obviously, living here in America, and in New Jersey, there's no way I could have kids training 5 days a week. Nobody's ready for that. Your average here in New Jersey is 2 days to 3 days for the higher level teams. So 3 days a week training. They showed up. Remember what I told you now. If you guys just, popped in and you're coming in late, we had the facilities. That's why I was able to do it. They would show up to training and they would go to the futsal surface. They would go to the futsal. They go to the futsal courts. Pennies were there and futsal balls, not soccer balls. Futsal balls. Some days it was futsal balls. Some days were salau balls. Salau balls are smaller balls. They're like, this big. Size like 2 or 3. Colombia is using salau balls. Futsal balls are a little bit bigger. And then tennis balls, believe it or not. Tennis balls, little tennis balls. So depending on the day, I would alternate. I would have different games with different, characteristics, different restrictions. It would be not only fun for the kids, it would subconsciously build different parts of the game. Okay? So subconsciously, if you use a tennis ball, it would require a lot more attention than kicking a salau ball or a futsal ball or even a soccer ball. Tennis ball is much more difficult to control. It's a lot easier to manipulate a tennis ball if you use the sole of your foot, which again in futsal, a key component, which most coaches here in America don't even teach that because they're not futsal coaches, is the use of sole. And if you guys watch a lot of soccer games, you watch, soccer players using, although they're wearing cleats, they're using the sole much more than they used to. Okay? So the use of the sole in my teaching, in my methodology, is mandatory. You got to build the use of your sole. Why? Because if you're playing futsal, it's a lot easier to control the ball with the bottom of your foot. Simple. When you use a futsal ball on a fast surface, using the exterior of your foot or your instep to cut and change directions is more difficult than if you use the bottom of your foot, which is your sole. So there's a reason why the sole is introduced in futsal, and then when you take it to soccer, wow, light bulb moment. Okay, so again, get it back. They show up, pennies, balls, and they start playing 3v3, 5v5, 2v2, sometimes 1v1s, different games. That was the warm-up. It was so much fun. And one of my pet peeves is when I show up at training and I see kids doing laps. That just annoys the hell out of me. I've been to Spain and I've been to Portugal, taking teams there, taking players there. I have associations with those countries. And one of the things that Spanish Federation teaches, actually we have had Spanish coaches. Last year we did a international camp with LFNS. Actually there's videos on the channels with the trainers from LFNS from Spain, teaching the kids here. LFNS is the Spanish Federation, the professional Spanish league in Spain, right? So we actually had the coaches come here and teach that methodology, right? And one of the things they tell you in Spain, but not just in Spain, I'm just using Spain because that's where I, was taught this. They incorporate the use of the ball no matter what they do. So if they're doing agility training where they're jumping over hurdles, they're going around in cones, this, that, they have a futsal ball or a soccer ball at their feet. They're running around doing stamina, doing court, they're using a soccer ball. They push the use of a soccer ball no matter what you do. You go to the bathroom juggling a soccer ball or a futsal ball or a tennis ball. You always have a ball in your feet. You always have a ball with you. Why? Because you have to create a relationship with a futsal ball or a soccer ball. That's the methodology South Americans, Brazilians, Portuguese, Spanish, Ecuadorians, Colombians, they teach you. You have to create a relationship with the ball. So wherever you go, you use a futsal ball. So we don't do just running around. If we're going to do, preseason conditioning where the players are running short sprints, long sprints, intertwined, we use the soccer ball with it. Think about this. No matter how grueling it sounds like you're doing sprints, it's a lot easier to do a sprint just running than actually doing a sprint controlling a soccer ball. It takes more out of a player to run full speed controlling a soccer ball or a futsal ball than if you were to just run by itself. Think. So when I show up and I see coaches just having the kids do laps, it just annoys me. It's a I don't know how long, is it 10 minutes of running, 15 minutes of running, 20 minutes of running, whatever, depending on the coach. It's just wasted time. I see that as wasted time. Furthermore, when I see 7, 8-year-olds doing sprints, oh my God. Guys, at those ages, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, those kids, man, they have abundance of energy. They don't need to build physical conditioning. They don't need it. They have so much energy. They're bouncing off the wall. If you guys coach 7-year-olds, 7-year-old boys, oh my Lord, they're all over the place. They have an abundance of energy. There's no need for you to be doing sprints. There's no need for you to doing laps. Put the ball in their feet. Let them play. So again, getting back to how I started the conversation. Put players in a futsal environment, pennies, ball, and let them play. Let them figure things out. Let them play. That's your warm-up. In fact, U.S. Soccer has adopted, the training method of small-sided game, train, small-sided game. So you start, your warm-up is actually small-sided games, rondos or what have you, right? Then you go to your training segment of your session, and then you finish the session with another small-sided game. Well, it sounds a lot like what I just said, didn't it? Only I've been doing this for like forever. Ever since that coaching, that's what I've been doing. Why? Oh, I don't know. Could it be the fact that I grew up in Europe? My dad played professionally. I went in Europe. I played professionally. When I came here in the 70s, before I came to this country, that's what they did. Oh, the Europeans and South Americans have been doing this forever. Forever. But no, Americans refuse to adapt. So I'm getting a little animated, but I'm trying to describe how I have been doing things, how certain other academies, and it's not like, we're using a secret sauce. It's just we are repackaging how we were trained. I'm 61 years old. So I grew up in the late 70s. I was born in 64. By 70, I was 6 years old. My dad at the time was playing professional soccer in Europe. I was part of that, again, in the 60s, you had this guy, somebody's relative most of the time, that, rounded all the players' kids, and they played and they taught them things and this and that. It wasn't, in those days, wasn't organized, academy training like it is today. If you're playing for Barcelona, or Liverpool, or, Milan, or any professional soccer team at the top level has a youth academy these days. And the players, kids play in that academy. Well, in the 60s, you didn't have that. If you guys watch a movie like Maradona or, those biography, you see the kids running around in the 60s and the 70s just kicking a ball in the dirt. And you have some guy just, slurp, teaching the kids. That's how I grew up. Then when I came to this country in the late 70s, there was no indoor soccer. There was no turf fields. So at 14 years old, I was already playing with men indoors because the things that are available today were not available then. So everything that I teach has been with me all my life. But parents need, and I say this, and sometimes I tell you, sometimes I get tired of speaking because it seems that people are not listening to people like myself. And I'm not the only one saying this. If you do some Google search, if you do some YouTube search, or whatever media you're watching this video on, right? There's a lot of other coaches that are telling you what I'm telling you. Now, here's something else. Here's another huge myth. Well, my son and my daughter need to play soccer because if they don't play soccer, they're not going to have an opportunity to play collegiate soccer. Nope. Further from the truth. As a collegiate coach, I can tell you that is one of the biggest misconceptions. I have recruited players into the collegiate program that I was in from a futsal tournament. Why? Because think about this. If your kid plays at a high-level futsal tournament, chances are some of the coaches, like I'm going to use here in New Jersey, there is the East Coast Regional with USFF, U.S. Futsal Federation. That's done in February every winter. There's like over 750 teams. Okay? Over 750 teams are represented in that tournament. And a lot of those coaches, they're not just futsal coaches. They're also soccer coaches. And a good number of those soccer coaches happen to also coach at universities, at colleges. Well, if they see a quality player, it's only natural to create a conversation. So they'll come looking for you. So you can't get recruited. You can't get a look from a college coach with a futsal environment. Just like, it's a myth that, well, if your kid doesn't play for XYZ Academy, if your kid doesn't play ECNL, GA, they're not going to get a chance to get recruited. No, absolutely not. Just like, if your kid doesn't play academy level soccer, they can't get recruited into a soccer program. Absolutely not. Look, if your kid is that special where you're looking to go and to play for Princeton or Notre Dame or, Wake Forest, North Carolina, those top Division I programs, yeah, you need to be at that level. But guess what, though? If your kid is that good, those programs will come looking for you. You don't have to worry about going to all these tournaments. If you're that good, those universities, those top-level schools, those top-level Division I schools, they have coaches. They have scouts. They have their eyes and their ears open for any young talent. They will come knocking on your door. But if your kid is not at that level, if your kid is an okay player, and realistically, you're looking at a Division II or Division III school, you don't need to play for an academy to get into one of those rosters. I personally have coached with coaches at the college level where they said from high school, they went straight to college. There was no academy. Why? How? They were good enough. And they were smart enough. Maybe they didn't have the money. And it's simple. Okay? And this is another nugget. I'm getting a little off topic here, but I'm gonna finish with this. When you get to a certain age, because here's what happens. Your kid loves soccer, and it's all about soccer at 7, 8, 9 years old. Man, you are so happy as a parent because your kid just loves soccer. Soccer. That's all they do. A lot of those kids, by the time they hit the 14, 15-year age, where the recruitment process starts more or less at that age. For girls, it starts a year younger. The boys, a year older. But at that age, between 14, 15, 16 years old, where their recruitment process in college is going on, a lot of those 7, 8-year-olds that were studs, a lot of those 7, 8-year-olds that they were, oh my God, I want to be a soccer player. Yeah, by then, they're done. They don't want to play soccer anymore. Their interests have switched for many different reasons, by the way. Many different reasons. Okay? So, what happens? What happens when you have invested tens of thousands of dollars into an academy system, hoping that your kid is going to go into college, hoping that the investment is going to pay off because your kid is wound up playing for this academy and gets looks from different colleges, blah, blah, blah. What happens when your kid turns around and says, yeah, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to play soccer anymore. I'm done. I got other interests. My daughter did that. Likely, though, I didn't spend tens of thousands of dollars into academy system. I didn't spend any of that money. And I'll go into that situation at a different time. Well, look, if your kid gets recruited, if you put your kid into an academy program at 7 years old, because they're starting younger and younger now. By the time that kid or your kid is ready to go to college at 14, 15 years old, where the college recruitment process starts, you probably, into the tune of anywhere from $30,000, $40,000 to maybe 50, 60, 70, depending if they're playing at a high level. If your kid is playing soccer at an ECNL level or a GA level, and you guys are traveling all over the country. If you're in New Jersey and you're traveling to California, to Texas, to Virginia, regionals, nationals, this, that. It's the money that you pay for the academy. It's the money that you pay for to travel, airfare, lodging, food, this, that. It adds up. So you take all those years and you add it up. By the time you know that your kid is college recruitable, college process recruitable, well, you're already into like $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 investment. And then your kid turns around and says, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. What do you do? What, are you going to force your kid to go into college to play soccer? No, you can't do that. So there's other ways. There's other ways. If your kid, as they get older and get into that recruitment process, wants to play college soccer, okay, and he's playing for a club, not an academy. You're spending a couple of dollars here and there. I mean, to my knowledge, here at least in New Jersey, if you're playing for a club, because there's clubs here in New Jersey that are playing academy level soccer, but they're not spending, $4,000 or $5,000. They're only spending like, $1,000 in their club. Well, those kids go to the same tournament as the academy kids. And they compete against a lot of those academies. And as a college coach, you go to recruit the academy kids, but then you see a club kid who catches your eye. Oh, all of a sudden you get an offer. But let's take it a step further. What about the fact that you can do it as follows? My son is 14, 15 years old, and he's one of the kids that wants to play college, has the grades, first of all, because that's another key component. This is not the 70s or 80s where kids got recruited to just go and play a sport. And it could be, their grades were just like horrible. And today, 2025, yeah, you got to have the grades to play in college. Why? Because the rules have changed. Because when you play college sports, the head coach must have a graduating ratio. And that means that you can't just take kids into your program and those kids don't graduate. You're going to lose your job. Because the number one reason why you go into college is to get a college education, not just to play sports, although we have flipped it around. Yeah, you may use your sport to get a scholarship, to get a free education, by you going to college to learn, to study academics. You're not going to college to just play soccer. Now, again, are there some schools that promote football, for example, the number one sport, football, then basketball, where those kids are going to college strictly to play football and basketball, and the next jump, because they're that good, the next jump is going to be in the NBA or the NFL? Yeah, but is your kid to that level? No. Your average kid is not. Okay? Your average kid is not. So, here's an alternative. Make a list of the universities or the colleges that you're interested in. First of all, you got to know what you want to study. And there's a lot of kids, by the way, that go to college and they still are not set on a curriculum. And that's okay too. That's okay too. But figure out what schools are you interested in. And then send a letter to the coach. Follow up with a call. If it takes 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it takes. Hey, coach, my name is so-and-so. I'm a midfielder. I'm interested in your school. I know you have this curriculum. I know that you just graduated. See, you're making your email specific to that school. You're not just, drafting a blanket email and sending it to 10 different schools. Hey, coach, I know that you're graduating 4 midfielders this year, and I would love to come and have the opportunity to try out. Most coaches will say, yes, please do. Also, Division II and Division III schools, even most Division I schools, they're doing one-day camps at a cost of, average, I don't know, like $100 for the day. You go in there and you spend 7-8 hours with the coaches. You go in the morning, you do a training session, you break for lunch, you do afternoon session, you get to, hang out with the coaches, speak to them, interact with them. Then you do most likely like a tour of the university, arranged by the existing soccer members, right? But here's the thing. Now you're spending 7-8 hours and the coach gets to know you. He gets to know your personality, your traits, your leadership skills, your communication skills, not to mention your soccer skills or your futsal skills, right? Much different than going to be ID'd on a tournament that the scout is there to see like 30 players. And if you're watching that game and your kid has a bad game, or there's games where maybe your kid won't even touch the ball, and the coach is there for 10 minutes, boom, moves on to the next game. Moves on to the next game. It happens all the time. Coach comes in, is watching this game. I'm looking to, watch number 5, number 3, whatever. And that number 5 has not touched the ball in the 10 minutes that I'm watching the game. Don't forget, I got to see a lot of games. I don't have all day long. Maybe 20 games, whatever the time frame is. I'm just using an example, right? But what about if in the time that I'm watching your son, he doesn't have a good game? For whatever reason, that game is just not a good game. In fact, when kids know that college coaches are coming to watch them, especially the ones that are interested in, right? They may get nervous. They get nervous. They just don't have a good game. Are you as a recruiting coach going to make a decision based on one game? Some do. Some do. The smart ones say, well, listen, I'm going to go see this kid again. But again, when is the next tournament? Am I available to go see this kid again? What's my schedule? When is the other tournament happening? Where if they come to a college camp, now you're spending multiple hours with a player. And like I said, quality recruiting coaches, quality college programs are not just looking if you can dribble the ball, if you can run fast, if you can, I'm talking about quality, not just any college. Because there's a lot of colleges out there, especially when it's American coaches, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for physicality and for speed. Technical ability, tactical ability, IQ, yeah. Oh, I mean, I would sit on the sidelines coaching college, games, and I'm like, how the hell did these kids get into a college roster? At 18, 19 years old, these kids cannot think. Their IQ was so low. In fact, when the Spanish coaches that we brought over from Spain for our winter international camp last year, the first thing they concentrate, and it's a common theme throughout the 3-day camp, would be IQ. IQ. Can you think? Can you think? How well can you think? How fast can you think? How fast can you adapt? How fast can you read the game? How quickly can you provide solutions? How quickly can you fix problems? Big. Very big. Very, very big. Again, it all depends what organization you're with. But everything I just discussed in the last 45 minutes can be blanketed with futsal. Anything that you can do on the soccer field, futsal puts it on steroids. Why? When I make it very simple for you. Smaller playing space, quicker playing surface, less time to think, less time to react, more difficult to control the ball because it's not on turf or grass where it's slower. Those are the small little nuggets. Those little components will make you a much better soccer player. When you can control the ball better on a quicker surface, you can control the ball much easier on a turf or grass, which is slower surface. When you can think quicker and react quicker, make decisions quicker on a small surface, you can do that much easier on a soccer surface. Simple. There's no magic. There's no secret sauce. It's as simple as it comes. Like I was saying, it's very, very simple to grasp. It's very simple to understand. It's not difficult. It's just a matter that the soccer community has brainwashed the parents into believing that it's all about soccer and futsal is just a side thought. Well, if futsal is a side thought, then why has the U.S. Federation, the U.S. Youth Soccer Federation, moved forward to implement small-sided games? For the last few years, they've been promoting small-sided games. But, they promote small-sided games on turf or on grass. It's still in a soccer environment. As far as I'm concerned, like I said, I ruffle a lot of feathers, but I really don't care. I really don't care because my business, and I tell everybody, when you come to train with me, when you come to, play for my academy or what have you, if you're coming in to be taught by me, because that's what I'm really doing. I'm teaching both the players and the parents on how to become better soccer players, better futsal players, better athletes, better thinkers, which, again, I'm a big advocate that sports is the groundwork for many things in life. Business, life, it's just so many lessons how to approach things. So, when it comes down to it, it's all about money. Money, 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 money. And I tell everybody, don't think the $300, the $400, the $500, whatever you pay me, don't think that money is going to make me rich. Seriously, in the back, if you guys can see, can you guys see here, there's like 3 screens. I have my laptop, 3 screens, okay? And now that I'm doing the live, I'm actually, on one of my computers, I have my market. It's on the market. I watch the market all day long because I am a day trader. I invest. I'm an ex-mortgage banker. So I've done okay. Futsal is passion. I love teaching kids how to become better athletes, better people, better citizens. For me, it's not just about teaching a sport. For me, it's about teaching young minds, helping in the development of young minds. Parents are busy doing 1,000,001 things. Me, I'm helping in a way. Does that make sense? So, I don't financial benefits is not my primary reason why I do this. I run a business. I got to get paid and I got to keep the lights on. But that's not the primary reason. I don't want people, I don't want families, I don't want parents coming into my training world, into this world that I'm talking about, not being sold 100% that what I'm telling you is spot on. Because if I got to drag you kicking and screaming to sell you the benefits of futsal, to sell you the benefits of what I just covered in the last hour, 15 minutes into it, right? It's going to be a painful experience both for you and for me. I don't want to spend time trying to convince people. Either you in or you're out because of what I just covered. Either you understand the philosophy, either you agree or you don't agree. And if you don't agree, that's fine. That's completely fine. Absolutely. So I only want to work with families that are on the same wavelength and understand what I'm trying to say. Unfortunately, not everybody feels that way. I know plenty of coaching directors of soccer organizations, and they'll tell you, the coaching directors are under extreme pressure to produce numbers for the owners of that organization. Why? Because it's all about money. Look, I want to speak in New Jersey. I'm not going to name any organizations, but if you're living in New Jersey, if you're in the Jersey area, you know what I'm talking about. There is a handful of organizations, maybe you can count them in like 5 fingers, okay? One hand you can count them, that they have thousands of kids in their academy. Oh man, they have a team for every age group. Every age group has like 10 teams. And they're making a lot of money. Well, let's just use common sense. It's the larger the organization, the more difficult it is to maintain quality. The larger the organization, the more difficult it is to have quality coaching. The larger the organization, the more difficult it is to maintain culture. That's something else that most parents don't even know. When you go to Europe, when you go to South America, every organization has culture. If you're a Benfica in Portugal fan, if you're a Barcelona fan, if you're a Man United fan, there is culture. Every team has culture. There's sayings that every team has. Don't walk alone. Every organization has certain things in the criteria, and they build a culture around. Well, that culture filtrates down to their academies. You build a culture. Our methodology is this. We prioritize development over wins and losses, which, by the way, is one of the most common BS in youth soccer. Oh, we are a development organization, and we prioritize, we don't care about, wins and losses. Yeah? Well, then, if you don't prioritize wins and losses, why isn't my kid playing? Or why am I paying $3,000-$4,000 and my kid is sitting on the bench and he's getting 3-4 minutes a game? If you don't prioritize wins and losses, why are you playing on your best players? I'm paying just as much as the kid that's playing like 90 minutes. Why is my kid getting? Oh well, you're not paying for the game, sir. You pay for the training. Really? Really? Oh, okay. All right. So, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you guys, I'm going to, start making more lives, hopefully trying to build this conversation. Love to have more input. I know this is only like the first one today, so a couple of people, watched, a couple of likes, no comments whatsoever. Love to have more comments, and I want to create the conversation back and forth. But once again, my purpose for this is to start getting people to think a little bit different. It's just an alternative way of thinking, It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody, definitely. But I hope you guys enjoyed what you heard here. Please share this. Please like it, okay? In hopes that we get the algorithm to promote it, okay? But like I said, I enjoyed the time that I spent with you. It's been like an hour. I'm going to start doing, more and more of these. I'm going to try to see if I could get, at least 2-3 times a week. Same time frame, around lunch. I may also try some different times. I don't know if you guys I know during lunch there might be more people working or have you. Maybe I'll try different times. I don't know. And we'll take it from there. All right, guys? All right, listen, I enjoy my time with you. Please share. Please subscribe, like, follow the channel. Okay? Awesome. Have a great rest of your day.